So recently I started watching JJK, mostly because some of y'all can't stop following the damn manga. But I'm not here to talk about the manga today, because I've mostly been watching the anime. And as you know, currently the anime is on season 2, which is dealing with the whole Shibuya Incident. And my god, when people told me that this arc was going to be dark, they were not freaking kidding. And it might as well be 2001 again, because my god, are the bodies hitting the Alright, enough of that before I get copyright strike. So with all this craziness going on, I kinda had to wonder, is this just dark for the sake of being dark? Or is there actually a method to this madness? And that's what we're gonna talk about today. But before we get into it, make sure you guys like and subscribe, because I'm trying my best to get this channel monetized. And so far it's been going pretty well so far. I've only started this a couple months ago, and I thought I'd maybe hit 100 before the end of the year, but so far I'm almost about to hit 200, which is quite impressive. I know it's a small feat, but it's still a nice one. But anyway, thank you again for anyone that supports me, and if you want to keep seeing more stuff, make sure to subscribe, it'll help me out a lot. But anyway, let's get into it. Now, as I mentioned a second ago, we've seen that this arc has been pretty dark, and it's kind of a little bit jarring, especially coming after season 1, where it seemed like the heroes had a pretty good chance against the villains, especially in a lot of the fights and a lot of the setups that had happened prior. So when we hop into this season, and we kind of see a lot of characters dying off the rip and barely getting a chance to even fight before they're killed. And we even see some characters literally get killed like mid-sentence while they're not even fighting in the first place. So it brings into question, what is the point of even introducing some of these characters if they don't even get to finish their story arc? Like, there's a couple characters that have been built up to seem like they're going to be secondary protagonists to the stories that essentially get killed before they even have a season or even a season and a half worth of actual story content before they're just abruptly taken out of the story. So it brings into question, is this bad writing? Because outside of the flashy animations and the cool fights, is this just kind of bad to kind of bring these characters in and kind of kill them off? And to be honest, in my opinion, in other series, I would agree that this is probably would be considered trash writing because it's just shock value for the sake of shock value. But there's one thing that JJK does correctly enough that I think somewhat rectifies the situation. I can't say that for every character, but I think for the most part, the one thing it does correctly is accurately power scaling all the characters. Now, when I say power scaling, I'm not talking about relative to is XYZ powerful enough to destroy a building or whatever, destroy a planet, because that's just not, I don't really like that. As well as, I'm not talking about their power system, because, my god dude, the way they explain cursed energy leaves me more confused than the question I asked in the first place. Like, I'll ask, like, hey, how can someone fly? And they'll be like, well, they use reverse curse technique with positive curse energy, then if they clap their hands hologram they can fly. I don't like the way they explain their powers. Now, what I mean by power scaling is when a character is stated to be stronger than another character, it is very accurate, and the story depicts that, because we constantly see in anime, and it throws us off a lot of the times, that a character will be stated to be certain power level or a certain degree of strength, and they'll face a character that's significantly lower than them and put up a fight. That doesn't happen in JJK. And to kind of explain a little better what I'm talking about, because I know it might sound a little confusing, let's take Jogo versus Sukuna into consideration, because this is the first time where we actually have a physical number that we can say is their power levels. And Sukuna is stated to be about 15 fingers, while Jogo only has about 9 finger strength. And though this man has fire powers, he gets cooked.
Fight back, nigga! Fight back, nigga! Fight back!
Because each of Sukuna's fingers is about the level of a special grade curse. We saw how powerful a special grade curse was in season 1, so imagine like a 6 finger difference when it comes to that? So you're not really going to see a really tough back and forth there because the scaling is so vastly different between each other. And even with the situation with Jogo, when he is constantly in fights, he's scaled against people who are way higher than him typically. So yeah, in those fights, he's gonna get washed again. And because we see the villains typically going up against Gojo, to be honest, we end up forgetting how powerful of odds these people are actually going up against. Because yeah, Jogo gets washed every fight, but he's still 8 to 9 Sukuna fingers strong. And we saw how hard these kids had to fight to defeat one special grade curse lower than 1 to 2 Sukuna fingers at that time. And all these special grade curses that they're fighting in this season are way more powerful than that special grade curse, because Yuji says it himself. So now we're actually seeing Jogo go up against regular people. Yeah, he's gonna no-diff them because he's way more powerful than them. So this is what we're seeing happen and play out for the first time. So it might be a little bit jarring. Because let's not forget that Jujutsu High School only has about like a few special grade sorcerers and their strongest one is Gojo, who is currently sealed. And the rest are mostly made up of grade 1 sorcerers, who need multiple grade 1 sorcerers to typically take out one special grade curse. And the level of special grade curse that they're dealing with is way higher than their typical one. And it doesn't help that the villains in this series act like villains. Most of the time, at least. Because when it comes to underhand tactics and kicking men while they're down or getting people while they're off guard or using human shields, that's not beneath them. They will use any tactic they can to secure the win. And again, it's not usual that we see this level of villainy in Shonen. Because a lot of times in Shonen, the villain will have the hero by the neck, just about to kill them or just about to finish them off when they will just get some miraculous power up, or sometimes the villain will just be like, oh, I'm too busy to finish this fight, and just essentially leave, causing them to, recuperate later and come back. In this series, no, they're trying to hit to kill. And I know you might be wondering, no, there's plenty of evil shonen villains that try to hit to kill. I'm not saying that it's impossible, I'm just saying it's not the standard. And the power scaling thing is definitely something that I've noticed a lot in shonen, where enemies and villains, the power scaling is depending on how powerful the power of friendship is in that moment. Because taking an example from one of my favorite animes, which is Naruto, right? The Sasuke retrieval arc, where the sound ninjas are stated to be about Jonin level, and actually when they send 2 Jonins to fight them, they get absolutely obliterated, and then the Jonins even recommend that they send other Jonins to go defeat them. But instead, they send a team of Genin, who, mind you, half of them didn't even win their Chunin exam fights. And then they proceed to run several 1v1s against these Jonin level threats, and suffer no casualties. Most of them actually win. Some of them kind of win with the power of teamwork, but most of them win their 1v1s. And no disrespect to that arc in Naruto, because that arc goes fucking hard. But in JJK, they've kind of established that, yeah, a typical sorcerer is not going to have a good chance against a special grade curse, let alone a fight against several special grade curses. And I gotta give them credit, because they're capable of pulling the punches and just letting characters die to really hammer that point in, that these guys are going up against really, really challenging odds. And I know what you might be thinking, they fought a couple of special grade curses in season 1, and they put up a kind of a good fight. They more or less almost won a lot of their fights. But let's not forget that they jumped a lot of those special grade curses. They were not going in 1v1s, and they were also fighting on their home turf, so they had a home field advantage, and they had several students plus Gojo to help them out. And I think that kind of gets lost because it just seems like some typical stuff, but yeah, no, that's essentially why they ended up winning a lot of their fights back then. So it kind of lulled you to his false sense of security that our heroes are just as strong as the villains. Trust me, they're not. So yeah, when they eventually start dying because the scaling is a little bit, one-sided in this season, yeah, it's gonna suck, but it's reasonably just because they're really outmatched and they really want to hammer that home. Which I gotta give JJK props, because a lot of shows are really afraid to pull that punch when it comes to killing characters. They usually tiptoe around it, have a character get grievously injured, say they died, and then have them come back later for some reason. And yeah, there is some shenanigans with that with JJK, but typically once a character dies, they tend to stay dead. So is it dark? Yeah, it's very dark. I could say that this season is probably one of the darkest I've seen in a typical shonen anime that wasn't trying to just be overtly dark to be dark. But is it bad writing? I can't really say it is, because I think it's just actually what would happen in these realistic scenarios. If a villain is more powerful, they're going to show it, and they're not going to be afraid to use underhand tactics to win the fight a lot of the time. Now, that's all I have to say on the subject. Appreciate you guys for sticking around. I'm going to try to do some more JJK. I'm just kind of getting into it right now. I'm caught up with what's currently happening in the manga, but I'm not caught up with what's happened between the end of this season and the death of a certain character. If you know, you know. But I'm going to try to make some more content about the show. I really want to review some of the fights that I've seen, because some of the animation in the season has been absolutely beautiful, which is kind of crazy because I heard they've been working the employees at MAPPA like slaves. But still good on them for creating a visually stunning season. I think this season is probably one of the best animated seasons I've seen so far. So good on the animators. Sorry about the working conditions. But thanks again for watching another video. Really appreciate you guys, and let's keep the momentum going. Make sure you guys like it if you got to the end of the video, and make sure to drop a boy to subscribe, because I need it right now. But anyway, Thanks again. Stay safe, my ninjas. I'ma see you in the next one. Peace.